Welcome, everyone. We're going to wait just a couple more seconds to allow other attendees to join this webinar. Okay, well, my name is Anna, and it's my pleasure as the Assistant Director for Constituent Relations to welcome you all to this 49er Industry Chat. Before we get started, we would just like to remind you that this session is being recorded, and after it will be available on our website, csulb.edu/alumni, where we post it on our YouTube page. Once it's posted, please feel free to share this with a friend, fellow alumni, or someone that you think could benefit from this chat. We also encourage you to use the Q&A box to submit any questions you'd like our guest speaker to answer. Our alumni relations member, Rosalinda, will be helping moderate the chat during this webinar. We would also like to promote our CSU Voices. CSU Voices is the California State University's advocacy community that keeps the CSU alumni informed on issues shaping the future of the CSU system. By taking simple actions like sending messages to elected leaders, you can help influence state and federal policy decisions that affect students, campuses, and communities. So you can join the CSU Voices and protect access, affordability, and the value of a CSU degree. We'll drop the link in the chat. So if you guys want to sign up, please feel free to do so. And again, you could also share that link with any CSU alumni. They didn't have to go to Cal State Long Beach. Any of the CSU systems, they could sign up and support. I am now actually going to pass it on to an exciting guest that we have here who will be interviewing Gus, and that is Ryan Antes, who is also a Cal State Long Beach alum and a U.S. veteran as well. So please, Ryan, if you feel free to take a moment to introduce yourself before we kick off.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anna. Welcome, everyone. My name is Ryan Antes. I had the privilege of serving with our guest as a member of the City of Long Beach's Veterans Commission. Prior to attending Cal State Long Beach, I served in the U.S. Army 75th Ranger Regiment and saw combat in Afghanistan and Iraq. I graduated from CSULB in 2006 with a Bachelor of Science in Marine Biology and a minor in chemistry. After that, I attended Loyola Law School, graduated in 2009, and these days I run my own law practice right here in Long Beach. Now, I would like to introduce our alumni guest, Gus Orozco. Welcome, Gus. I'll start off by reading your bio before we jump in. Born in Jalisco, Mexico, Gus Orozco is a product of Long Beach's nation-leading education. While an NJROTC cadet at Wilson High School, Gus felt the calling to serve in the military. In 2005, Gus realized that the commitment and he joined the United States Army. Gus was assigned to the 2nd Stryker Cavalry Regiment in Vilseck, Germany, and later deployed to Baghdad, Iraq for 15 months. Among other awards and decorations, Gus earned a Combat Action Badge after an ambush in Baghdad. After leaving active duty in 2010, Gus returned home to North Long Beach, joined the Army Reserve, and served as a drill sergeant for over 10 years. Gus attended Long Beach City College and Long Beach State University, becoming active in student government and earning a Bachelor's of Science in Geography with a minor in Environmental Science and Policy. In 2023, Gus was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army and is currently serving as company commander in Riverside, California. Gus is a graduate of the City of Long Beach's Neighborhood Leadership Program and remains an active volunteer. He was appointed to the City of Long Beach's Veteran Affairs Commission in 2017, where he served for 4 years. He's currently serving on the city's newly formed Police Oversight Commission. In 2024, Gus began working in the district office of Congressman Robert Garcia. He focuses on military and veteran affairs and has now added the city of Long Beach, Signal Hill, and Avalon to his portfolio of casework. Gus met his wife Brittany on a class field trip to Death Valley National Park in 2017. They married at Willow Springs Park in 2020 in a small ceremony that I got to officiate. They bought their first home in North Long Beach shortly thereafter, where they live currently. Gus, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today, and welcome.
Thanks, Ryan.
Again, as a reminder, our moderator and the alumni team will be checking the chat for any questions attendees would like us to answer. I think we are dealing with a slight echo issue, so it sounds like it's resolved. Hopefully, no one's having to deal with that in the background. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Gus, you began your journey in the armed forces before attending CSULB. What made you decide to join the Army as compared to the other branches of the military?
Yeah, well, first I want to say thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Cal State Long Beach, and everybody on the call for having me and for spending a little bit of time to chat and hopefully we can get some really good conversation out of this. And I'm just so honored to be asked to do this because I feel many times we think of our own stories as not that exciting, and so I just appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit of mine. So back to your question. So why I chose the Army. So I like you mentioned was in the Wilson High School NJROTC program, which is a Navy-based high school ROTC program. And throughout that, I knew that ROTC, or I knew that the military was going to be something that I wanted to do after high school. So I shopped around with Navy and Marine Corps, and um, first off, I don't know how to swim. Don't tell anybody. But I didn't really get a great feel for the Marine Corps or the Navy. So I went to the Army recruiters and actually signed it's called an 11 X-ray contract, which is infantry with possibilities of Ranger School and airborne. But then my high school best friend and I were talking, and he found the Army buddy program where you and a high school buddy can join the military together and get stationed together. And he was looking at becoming an Abrams tanker, and so we joined the Army through the buddy program as Abrams tankers, and eventually we were both stationed in Fort Lewis, Washington for a period of time. And my buddy Tim actually met his wife there, and he stayed. And lucky for me, my entire unit moved to Vilseck, Germany after that, which was an incredible experience. Before we deployed. So I think that sums it up. Why I chose the Army, just buddy program, and got to be up in Fort Lewis, Washington, with my high school best friend, and it was an absolutely great experience.
How did the rain treat you up at Fort Lewis? My experience was a little bit wet.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And I think what it is folks that live up in Seattle complain about the rain so much to keep tourists away because it's absolutely gorgeous up there. The rain, maybe it rained 5 months out of the year, but the forests and the mountains and the scenery is just absolutely gorgeous up there. That I have to think that it's just one of those kept secrets where folks try to keep tourists away.
No, the Pacific Northwest certainly is beautiful.
Yeah.
After serving overseas, you returned home to Long Beach. What was that transition like?
Yeah, I don't think that transition has really ended. I would be surprised if any other veteran um would feel the same because I feel like in the military, going through basic training, we are taught to be, this well-oiled machine to do this one job. And when we get out of the military, there's no backwards training, right? No training to become a civilian again. And so even though I left active duty in 2010, and I've been back for 16 years in the civilian world, I feel like I'm still transitioning and I'm still trying to find the adult version that I want to be, or the grown up that I want to be outside of that. But yeah, I think part of the struggle of coming back to Long Beach and trying to transition was really trying to find who I wanted to be. And luckily for me, I found Long Beach City College and Cal State Long Beach, especially the veteran programs there, the veteran service offices that were incredibly supportive of my journey and of the journey of the fellow veterans that I was attending school with, by providing resources and providing the opportunity to start student clubs which, eventually led to why I became so active in the veteran community and in the Long Beach community itself. So yeah, transition is still going, and I don't think the transition's really going to end until, I clock out, so to speak. But it's been an incredible journey so far, and I'm just incredibly grateful for it.
I like that you touched on that. One of the things that I think I admire most about you is your sense of dedication to volunteerism. I know that when I got out of the Army, I felt very lonely. I
Yeah.
started at Long Beach State, but didn't have that connection right away. And I felt like volunteering started to fill that void for me that I'd lost when I kind of detached from service. And I was only in 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I was on active duty for 5 years, but I've been in the reserves going on total of 20 years now, and I think what keeps me engaged and involved is just the camaraderie we have, not only with our veteran community, but also being still in the Army Reserve, having the camaraderie with with my soldiers. I think is just one of those things that I'm super grateful about the military, is that it gives you this family that you get to grow and care for.
You already started to speak to it, but can I ask you what led you to Cal State Long Beach in particular?
Yeah, so I'm a Long Beach kid. My family immigrated here when I was about 2 years old, and so growing up in Long Beach, absolutely loved everything about this city. And so when it was time to think about going to school after the military, Long Beach City College was a first great choice, just because you know, while in the military, we moved around quite a bit. I was, in South Carolina and Georgia and Washington and Germany and Iraq. So moving around was uh kind of a not a great thing, right? So the idea of just staying in Long Beach and staying home was something I was looking forward to on my way home from Germany. And Cal State Long Beach, the pathway from Long Beach City College to Cal State Long Beach was so incredibly easy that I don't want to go anywhere else. Even now working for the office, folks always ask if I'm going to be interested in going to DC to work, and I absolutely don't. My wife and I bought a house here in Long Beach, and I hope this is where don't let her know, but I hope this is where we stay, until the end, because I just absolutely love the city and I love the communities here, and I mean, the weather. We were just talking to folks from DC, and they were expecting hail and tornadoes and temperatures of 90 degrees plus all just yesterday alone. So
Look,
happy to
we're
pay the
having a
weather
weird
tax.
weather year, but I'm grateful for what we've got, especially
Yeah,
after my time in Western Washington. So
yeah,
I get it. I didn't even realize that the not wanting to leave the city of Long Beach was a Long Beach thing until I went to law school. Like I finally had to do something that was venturing out of my city.
yeah.
So I get it. I'm with you. All right. Let's talk a little bit about your student experience at Long Beach State. Clubs, activities, what caught your interest? What did you do? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, all of it. So, on the academic side, I was in the geography program and I was taking environmental science classes and fell in love with the environmental advocacy that I was really learning. And I saw Dr. Jacoy, I think, on the call, who was one of my professors, incredible professor that really helped us understand how to advocate for government and for the environment and for those passions. And I also met my wife on a field trip to Death Valley in a class that Dr. Monica Argandonia taught. And, so I owe the geography department specifically that. I owe them, the passion in environment and the the opportunity to meet my wife. So that was incredible. But then also, I was involved in clubs and activities. I was the president of the student veteran club, and then eventually I was also on ASI as the commissioner for government or for veteran affairs. So just given the opportunity to advocate for those things that I care deeply about, really started at CSULB, because after that I was able to network um, with nonprofit leaders and with elected officials in the city, and understanding how to speak to them really came from the experience of being a student leader on campus. So I am absolutely grateful for that. And I know I've been saying that a lot this entire call, but honestly, the opportunities that Cal State Long Beach gave me to give me that confidence to be able to speak to, elected and nonprofit leaders, and even standing in front of a crowd and talking about what I really like to do really came from all of the activities that the college provided for me.
I don't think there's any problem with it talking about passion, because it's passion and gratitude, I think, are already themes in it. I feel like the things you've said this morning, but they're two of the things I feel like we forget about sometimes in our lives, and can work really well with our careers and moving forward. You find that thing that drives you to get up in the morning, and that work that you feel kind of the need to do rather than I have to do it. That's everything, at least in my mind. So let's move kind of forward in your career. And so tell us about your ongoing kind of service projects on the side, and how does that work with your civilian job, and how does the military tie into all of this? Because you've got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I'm in the reserves, in the Army Reserves now. I was a drill sergeant for over 10 years, and then a couple of years ago I commissioned as an officer. So now I am currently the commander of a company in Riverside. So that's, Army Reserve, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Actually, this Friday I'll be gone, and I'm leaving on annual training for a couple of weeks. So it does take a lot of time and commitment to just focus on the Army Reserve part of it, because I have soldiers under my command that, have their own wants and needs, and have, an entire life of their own that I'm responsible for. And so that mental strain, on top of, working for the office and all of the volunteer work, is a lot, and it's a huge balancing act that I'm still learning to to deal with. But it's why I'm doing what I do. So yeah, Army Reserve, absolutely love it. I love being in command. I've been in the military for over 20 years now, so I'm definitely ready to retire very soon from the military. But that's one component of what I'm doing right now. I'm also involved in a couple of boards and commissions. So, like you mentioned, I'm a commissioner on the city's Police Oversight Commission, which is an advisory body that reviews police policies, and assists in being kind of a liaison between the city of Long Beach Police Department and the community. So that, it's a newer commission, so we're still kind of figuring out what our role is in the community. But that, I think, is an incredible thing that the city created a couple of years ago in response to the riots and to the Floyd and COVID era issues that we were having around policing. On top of that, there are a couple of veteran nonprofits that I sit on the board for, and assist in an advisory capacity. A couple of political um, clubs. So there's a Latino Democratic Club in Long Beach that is also a newer organization, which I'm on the board of. And there's a motorcycle association that I'm also the treasurer. So a lot, right? There's a lot, and I think that the biggest thing is balancing all of that. And like I said, I'm doing an okay job at it. We're gonna try to
I'd say
put.
you're doing better than okay job at it. So you're in my connection was through the City of Long Beach's Veterans Commission, and one of the things that like I can't say enough about how grateful I am is that the work we did on that commission ultimately led to the honor banners that you see posted around the city. And
Yes.
I feel like for me at least, being new to kind of volunteering in a quasi government capacity, the the layers of work that you need to do to accomplish anything, that feeling of like, oh, there's a process here and a machinery I don't understand. I was grateful that, we had people like you on the commission who were not so quick to give up and just willing to work through it to get this stuff done. Has any of the things you learned on the Veterans Commission helped with your work on the Police Oversight Commission?
Yes. I think one of the big lessons is understanding how processes work, and specifically how city government and how commissions operate, understanding Robert's rules and Brown Act. So those processes of running an effective government meeting, you and I, we were in the Veterans Commission from the beginning. We had to learn all of that basically from scratch. And I think now that we're, you know, further along, and now that I'm on the Police Oversight Commission, just understanding how that process works and how to, make a motion and how to um, make sure that you have quorum or not quorum when you're trying to discuss things. So that, I think, for me is one of those valuable lessons that we just keep learning, and it just, it reflects so much more on nonprofit boards and on all these other meetings that we're attending. So yeah, I think that's one of the key aspects of that time.
That's
And
great. I think you're
I want to thank you too for all that work on the banners. So if folks don't know, if you drive in front of the airport on Lakewood Boulevard, we've got a set of banners there honoring Long Beach veterans. We also have another set between, what is it, 7th Street and Atherton on Bellflower, and then another set on Atlantic, but like right in front of St. Mary's. And that's incredible work that the Veterans Commission worked on for, the last close to 10 years. And luckily we're coming up on our third year of hosting banners for the city. And I'll say that the city of Long Beach paid for all of those banners. So for us, I think that was a really important thing, is that we wanted to honor Long Beach veterans, but we didn't want the cost of putting those banners on the families of the veterans that wanted to honor them. So we're incredibly grateful for the city's push to honor veterans and in that way.
It's great. It's a big commitment, and we feel that the folks who serve certainly deserve the recognition, and it's nice when you can feel that sense of accomplishment that, hey, we
Yeah.
came up with an idea, we worked on it, we advocated for it, and our city is now kind of running with it and doing these amazing things.
Yeah, and we hope that the city's going to keep keep funding that.
Yeah, hey, it's you do what you can, and we
Yeah.
understand down budget cycles, but we think it matters. So
Yeah.
all right, let's talk about your work in public service. I know that you had kind of not necessarily thought that's where you were going when you were a high school student, and you eventually kind of worked your way up to it. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got there.
Yeah, I was not a great high school student. I will admit that. And I think the military helped in straighten me out. Um, and I think when it comes to questions like this, asking, did you fall into this type of work? I would say yes and no. I mean, the early on, I learned that saying yes to any opportunity that came up ended up putting me in rooms and places that normally, a kid from Long Beach like me would probably not be able to attend. So I learned early on, just saying yes to any opportunity helped. And these days I'm learning even harder is how to say no. And I think Ryan, I think you would agree with that. But yeah,
Tricky.
I think going back to how I got here, um, from Long Beach City College to Cal State Long Beach, just showing up to nonprofit meetings and, showing up to city council meetings and learning who was doing the work that I was interested in, getting to talk to them, and then figuring out how I could be involved because everybody's always looking for volunteers, so there's always an opportunity to volunteer. Um, yeah, and eventually, I got comfortable talking to nonprofit leaders and I got comfortable talking to our council members and our mayors and understanding that they're also just regular people that probably also have a really hard time saying no to stuff and they're great role models. I mean, very early on, I got to meet then council member Rex Richardson and Mayor Robert Garcia, and they were incredible role models. And even folks that were elected officials that had then stepped down from office. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about mentorship a little bit later, but I definitely just wanted to highlight, former Mayor Val Lurch, who was the president of the Long Beach Veterans Day Committee. He and Mike Murray, who was a former Chamber of Commerce president and a Marine Corps veteran, they saw a young, scared veteran coming to these meetings, and they created an opportunity for me to feel comfortable in that space. And I absolutely owe them, everything that I have today.
It's uh it's nice how, you meet these great people and we have this you use the connections you got, right? Whether it's Long Beach State, whether it's CS or it's Long Beach State College, whether it's being a veteran, you use this kind of an icebreaker, start the conversation, and it's amazing where this stuff will take you.
Yeah.
Currently, you're working for Congressman Garcia's office. It's I imagine it's a very big job and a very difficult job. To the extent that there is a typical day, what does that look like for you now?
Yeah, there is definitely no typical day in that office, but I think so. So some of the really important things that we do in that office are very day to day. So um, we do casework. We, as caseworkers, work with federal agencies as a liaison to constituents who have some sort of question for the federal government. So a couple examples of that could be if grandma's social security check isn't coming in on time or at all, then our office caseworkers can contact social security offices and ask, hey, what's up? What's going on? Why where's grandma's money? And so that part of the job is pretty typical and it's pretty day to day, and it's incredible work. It's our bread and butter. um Very recently we've been able to help veterans close their VA claims and get back pay for a service connection claim that has been stuck in a log for 2-3 years. So that part of the job is extremely rewarding. It can also be a little bit heartbreaking because sometimes constituents won't get the answer they believe they deserve from federal agencies, but in those cases, we have to be as empathetic as possible with the constituent and try to explain as best as we can, where the issue is and if there are other paths to take. So that part of the job can be pretty tough. Um, the other part of my job, as you mentioned earlier, I recently also became a field deputy for our office, representing the city of Long Beach, city of Catalina, and the city of Signal Hill. So that in any event, any public event that the congressman is invited to, if for some reason he's not able because he's out in DC or he's just unavailable in those positions, I'm able to come in and say a few words at a ribbon cutting or take a tour of a new facility. So that part of the job is so incredibly fun. We, get to go to ribbon cuttings. We were just at a ribbon cutting of the first, from what we understand, it's the first vegan Filipino bakery shop in the world. And it's on 4th Street. They're Sand and Wolves. Highly recommend you check them out. They're incredible. But we got to talk to these business owners who are local Long Beach residents who are incredibly passionate about what they're doing. And, we get to eat some pastries at, 10 o'clock in the morning on a school day. So that part
Not a
of it
bad
is
perk.
incredible. Yeah, and I wanted to highlight, so I actually got hired to the office through something called the Green and Gold Congressional Aid Program. So give me 1 second. My Zumba, or my what's it called? My little vacuum thing just went off. Give me a sec.
Yep. So I've got a question in the queue also for you, Gus, when you hop back. We're fellow geography alumni, and
Sorry.
when you have a moment, we've got a question from the crowd, another fellow geography alumni and now grad student interested in public service. What advice would you give for job searching? Like, how do you leverage kind of the geography experience into doing this sort of work that you're passionate about?
Yeah, that's really tough, right? Because I was studying geography, and so there is no real connection between geography and, I mean, the argument can be made that geography and politics are hand in hand.
Yeah.
So it's really tough. I think what I learned is that just putting yourself in those spaces, in those nonprofit meetings and city commission meetings, and talking to the folks that you admire is really the first step, because when those opportunities become available, ideally they're thinking about you first, to apply for an internship or a job. So yeah, I think for me that's been the path, is putting myself in those spaces where, I want to be, and I want to be mentored by those folks.
I think that yeah, just to echo your comments in my career field, that's also kind of true, right? It's the thing that I learned, I wish I'd known sooner, but I guess to some degree I did, is that it's your networking ability and your ability to kind of make that connection and have the conversation that leads to the opportunity, right? The opportunity may not be out there, it may not be posted on a job board, but just find the people who are doing the work you want to do, talk to them about how they got there, and look for, chances to help them, right? And that makes you
Exactly.
valuable.
Yeah.
So, speaking about helping and passions, sounds like you've got a lot of things going on, a lot of the communities you support. What issues and opportunities are you passionate about right
Yeah, so just to circle back before my Roomba
now?
decided
Circles
to
back, right?
yeah. So I actually got hired through something called the Green and Gold Congressional Aid Program. This program is tailored to hiring veterans and spouses of military service active duty folks. It's a 2-year fellowship, and it is just an incredible opportunity for the men and women that have served our country. And I am incredibly grateful about so many things, and this program is definitely one of those things that helped me get here, right? And I've been lucky enough that my military career has opened a lot of these opportunities, and I know that not everyone has had a military career that they have to fall back on, or have the networking abilities or resources that have been provided to, folks like you and me, Ryan, who, you know, decided to serve. But there are so many other incredible programs out there that no matter what you want to do, there's someone out there looking for you and looking for the opportunity to give you that chance. So again, I'm incredibly grateful for this program, and if folks want to um, be involved in work like this, there are programs out there that you can find that might be suited for the type of background that you have. So yeah, sorry, what was the
No, I was going to say like that kind of leads into the conversation we started to have earlier, and you talked about a couple of your mentors already, but it sounds like mentorship is particularly valuable in kind of the industry you've worked your way into. I find the same in my career path. Let's talk a little bit about your mentors. Do you have any mentees? Let's talk about mentorship. I'll leave it open to you.
yeah, So I already talked about Val Lurch. Val Lurch was the vice mayor of Long Beach in the early 2000s. And after leaving city council, he created the nonprofit that eventually became the Long Beach Veterans Day Parade. And so he, once I started showing up to those meetings, he immediately took me under his wing. And then Mike Murray, he was the president of the chamber, years ago. I met him through an organization called US Vets, and he was the chair of the nonprofit board there. And again, he also brought me in and took me under his wing and really helped me feel comfortable in a lot of those spaces. So I am incredibly grateful for them. And I would hope that folks, on the call or listening in can find anyone in their life that they admire. I was also very recently talking to Dr. Argandonia from the Geography and Environmental Science and Policy program. And I was talking to her about mentorship and how I had all of these military veterans that I consider mentors, but then, her and we have absolutely no military connection, and I still go to her from time to time, and so you never really know where you're going to find a mentor until you really get to know the folks that you admire. Ryan, I mean, you and I, we've been friends for about 10 years, and I absolutely think of you as a mentor. So yeah.
I appreciate it. I don't know that it is funny you find that I like the similar theme that I found in your career and the things that you dedicate your time to that I have always admired and then tried to emulate is the sense that if you go into a situation trying to be helpful, right? If you start out with how can I help? What can I do for this person who's in front of me? I think you find that gets reciprocated, and that's the way to kind of establish these sort of lasting relationships that they start as mutual respect, they grow into friendship, and in the sense that there are things we can learn from everyone around us. Those people become mentors to you in whatever aspect of your life you need it.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, and as far as mentees, around the office, I'm the fun fact guy. I love to I love to spew out fun facts about whatever, if we're walking down to lunch and I see a plant that I recognize, I'll say, this plant was known as cowboy cologne because cowboys in the West used to use it to hide their stench. And
Sage?
so
Is it sage?
it's Artemisia californica. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So thanks, Dr. Jacoy, if she's still on. And
So I know we're gonna run short on time
yeah.
pretty quick. What advice do you have for any 49ers out there interested in making a career in the industry that you're in?
Yes. So I hope Jeff Williams is okay with me shooting his name out there. Jeff Williams works for the mayor of Long Beach, and he is in charge of finding folks that want to be on city commissions. So if you want to be on a city commission, or if you want to find out more about being on a city commission, contact the mayor's office. You can contact our office to see if there are any opportunities as well. And I believe you'll have to ask Jeff, but I believe there's a mixer coming up in about a week or so where folks are literally going to be looking for anybody that's interested on being on a nonprofit board or commission, and that is a great first step. Another great first step is just go on Instagram and Facebook for events in your neighborhoods and attend and find out who's leading them and what you can do to help. I think that's going to be the best first way, and it's very low effort. I mean, we're already scrolling on our phones, hours at a time. So what's taking a couple extra moments to look for something in your community that you can help affect or change. And a good option of that is, very low effort is beach cleanups. There are probably two or three beach cleanups every single weekend. There's neighborhood cleanups. I know there's a Wrigley neighborhood cleanup just about every month. There's North Long Beach cleanups. So those I think are incredible places. There's also neighborhood leadership program I don't know if I talked too much about it, but Neighborhood Leadership Program is a free program for City of Long Beach residents. They, go through an 8-month program where they teach you how the city works and how to take advantage of all of the resources that you pay for. So, yeah, those are great first steps. And, if you want to learn more about any of that, you know where to find me, hopefully. And I am always happy to sit down and chat with anybody that wants more, more info about my journey or about, uh, your journey and any advice that I can help guide it along the way.
Well, it's just it keeps coming up, but one of the themes I think today is gratitude and passion, and find the things that you care about and find ways to insert yourself into the conversation. Not to steal words from your mouth, but I think that's what I've
Yeah,
heard from you is that try to be in the room where people are talking about the thing you care about. It's a good way
yeah,
to be involved.
exactly.
We've only got a few minutes left, but at the risk of ending on a down note, tell us about some mistakes you feel like you made along the way. Any missteps in your journey that you would tell our 49ers out there to try to avoid?
I I would say, don't avoid mistakes because that's where you learn how to react to them in the future. And that's where you learn what you like and what you don't like. Definitely don't do anything illegal or immoral, but learning from your mistakes, I think, is the most powerful tool because, I can talk to you about the mistakes I've made, but until you've been in that situation yourself, you're not really going to understand how you're going to react to it and how you're going to become a better person for getting through it. So make mistakes, and definitely learn the best you can from it because it's going to make you a better person.
I'm with you 100%. I think that in, my career in, I think lawyering in general, I have learned so much more when I've tried something that didn't work
Yeah,
than I did when like, hey, it was great first time out the gate. It's good until it isn't good, and then you learn the lesson when you see it not work, and you have to dissect why and how you can make different, better decisions.
right,
Um,
exactly.
I like that you talked about, right, you can't tell someone about your mistakes and help them avoid it exactly. The quote I saw that I always resonated with me was, we can't gift our children our scars.
Yeah,
Right? Like it's sometimes you just have to go out there and to my mind, the only real failure is the failure that occurs when you don't get up that last time, right?
right.
We all fall. It's just how
Yeah.
it goes. Um, speaking of opportunities, do you have any other than the Leadership Long Beach program, anything else you'd really like to highlight for our 49ers before we sign off today?
Not that I can think of. I would say definitely contact if you're here in Long Beach, contact the city's mayor's office about, it's the neighborhood leadership program, boards or commissions. Um, Honestly, that's really where I got a lot of my start, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. So, yeah, thank you so much for making this the time and space for this.
This was a very fun chat, and I really appreciate your time. And I hope that we're not screwing anything up and kind of ending the chat at the wrong moment. I'm bad at keeping track of the time on this sort of stuff. I guess before we get totally closed out, thank you everyone for joining in, for listening in, and hey, go Beach.
Go Beach. Oh, I see Raul and Nikki on the call. Hey, folks.